Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to a brand new video of Fox Flicks on Pop Cross Studios. Today we're checking out Trismegistus Academy, episode 13, Blood from a Stone. Let's hop in and check it out. This is a long
Previously,
one, 40
on the
minutes.
Trismegistus Academy, Alcaya Lamani's older sister, Delilah, was an overseer who was doing all she could to make her world a better place to live. Unfortunately, she was mysteriously called away to another universe and was killed. Alcaya went to the Ludum Academy for fearsome fighters under the promise that Eloise Ludum would train her to get her revenge on the person who killed her sister, then tell her who it was. All she knows now is what Ludum told her that—
Quick question. Does she actually even know? Like, she could have just been straight lied out of her ass and saying, yes, I know exactly who killed your sister. In reality, she had no clue.
thus far, that a madman killed thousands of overseers across the multiverse around that same time that Delilah's sister died. She has also since realized that many overseers are considered to be not nearly as kind and benevolent as Delilah was. Alcaya eventually
Yeah, some are just straight frickin' monsters.
realized what a horrible person Ludum was and attempted to kill her, resulting in Alcaya being banished from the LAFF. Strangely, to have Ludum demand that Alcaya be added to the Maverick class at the Trismegistus Academy. Alcaya has now been at the Academy for 3 weeks, and has yet to tell her fellow students and her teachers about her sister. But fellow Maverick Kiko Tsukino is a keen observer, who has noticed that Alcaya has some sort of secret revolving around overseers and her family.
That's
Kiko
true.
herself has a secret, a shared one with Professor Strone Goggins, who is on a temporary leave from the school, to grudgingly try and appease Ludum and maintain the connection between both schools so a plan can be enacted to take her down.
So is she not the mole? Because there's definitely no way the guy that straight up kicked her in the face would be a mole.
Kiko has decided to gently confront Alcaya about her secret, to ensure it isn't something Ludum can exploit against her or the other Mavericks. Let's see how that goes in the next episode of the Trismegistus Academy.
Yeah, I guess we're gonna find out.
The rest of the Mavericks went off to get
Also, we finally actually get to see what Miss Trismegistus actually looks like. Finally, he's drawing her.
some food after class was finished, but Alcaya hung behind with Headmistress Trismegistus. Evangeline had teleported all the students and the visiting sisters, Lelia and Nanara, back to the main campus. They were about to meet with Dresden Oakland, which meant Alcaya's favorite furry friend, Val, was coming to the academy as well. The large, odd chimera dog
least
always
good.
made Alcaya feel very safe and comforted. That was something she especially needed in that moment. She'd had a hard
Oh,
time
yeah.
keeping her emotions in check, listening to Lelia and Nanara arguing. Even if it was just common bickering, it still hurt to see two sisters fighting. It reminded Alcaya of her sister, whom she'd yet to tell her fellow classmates about, despite knowing that the minute she told the story, she very well could get an answer as to who had killed Delilah. The sisters
Oh,
waited
yeah.
behind at Evangeline's open gazebo.
I mean, from what I could tell by the thumbnail, it's going down. It's not going down like we had planned or like how I had wanted it to go. But then again, it's not my story to tell. It's his. It's his call. I am just a fan that will enjoy it.
Like office, while Alcaya walked with the headmistress through the grassy fields and cobblestone paths of Tahe towards the Nexus Pyramid. It was right on the top of Alcaya's mind to just ask, right then and there, if Evangeline knew who had killed the majority of the multiverse's overseers. Evangeline seemed to know everything, so if Ludum had known who her sister's killer was, then the Tahe headmistress likely did too. Pulling Alcaya
Most
out of her
likely.
thoughts, Evangeline asked, "You performed very well today, Alcaya, and your fellow Mavericks appear to be very supportive of your efforts. How are you feeling about your time here so far?" Alcaya choked back the burning question she wanted to ask and said, "It's about 1,000,000 times better than Ludum's school. I'm not worried about the other
Completely.
kids sneaking into my room and trying to kill me in my sleep here, so that's nice. The food is way better too.
Oh,
Really,
that's a good bonus.
everything is." Evangeline nodded.
I wonder, how is the food different? Is it actually cooked here or what?
"I'm very pleased to hear that.
Just
Do you
questions.
have any concerns or troubles you'd like to discuss?" Alcaya's heart skipped a beat. Was Evangeline some kind of mind reader? Alcaya was
Possibly.
pretty sure that wasn't the case and decided to answer with a diversionary concern. She said, "I guess I'm still worried about Waru and Katas. I mean, I know we've gotten messages from them on Anna's multiverse jumping watch thing, and Waru says they're okay, despite Ludum being even more insane than she was before the class trips. But they're still locked up there with a bunch of psychos." Again,
That is
Evangeline
true.
nodded. That is a perfectly understandable concern, and I do feel for all the students having their lives threatened and their minds wired by the troubled faculty of Eloise's school.
Or straight
As
up
much as it would be
destroyed and
nice to
killed.
stop her sooner, well, within her own dimension, she is extremely powerful. But you are doing all you can to help them, Alsaya, and from what you've shared, they are very resilient students who I'm sure will fare as best they can until our rescue. Alsaya gave a half-hearted grin. Evangeline then asked, "Are there any other concerns you have? Anything weighing on your mind?" Inside her own head, Alsaya was
Okay, maybe Trismegistus can read minds.
screaming at herself, "Just ask about Delilah's killer already." But she couldn't do it. She just said, "No, nothing else." Evangeline didn't push, but clearly knew Alsaya was
Very
lying.
well.
She said, "Well, if anything does come up, please remember that there are many people here who would like to help you. From Counselor Hay to your fellow Mavericks to me and more. Discussing difficult matters
Even
with compassionate
Dresden.
listeners can be a very good way to ensure concerns don't fester into deeper wounds as time goes by."
Sorry about that dog you heard. I recently got a dog. By the time you all seen this, I've had the dog for over a week. Anyway, yeah, I was actually just about to say before that bark. Is Trismegistus like Egyptian? Because I swear there was some Egyptian god that looks just like her.
Alcyon knew she was right. Waiting wasn't doing her any good, but even still, she intended to keep waiting. At least for now. Alcyon and Evangeline arrived just outside the massive white luminous pyramid on the edge of the main school grounds. Evangeline held out her palm above the ground right next to it and took a slow, deep breath in through her nose. Dew and drops of water gathered up from the grass and from under the pyramid, forming a thin stream up to her hand. Evangeline
Ooh,
then slowly
that's cool.
exhaled, and the stones of the pyramid began folding and shifting away, opening a hole in the wall.
Whoa.
Inside
okay.
waiting was the somewhat odd-looking, stony-skinned Dresden Oakland, and his horse-sized canine, which quickly came bounding over to Alcaya. Val brushed
Ah, so that's how they get in.
its head against
It's a door,
Alcaya so hard that
literally.
she nearly fell over. Alcaya wrapped her arms around the creature's neck and nuzzled her head right back into it. Dresden walked up soon after, saying, "When I mentioned I was coming to the Trismegistus Academy, Val immediately began excitedly and impatiently pacing outside the main office of the RAS Foundation. My companion was clearly eager to come and visit with you, Ms. Lamani." Alcaya
Oh, I
started
bet.
rubbing Val's neck as she looked over at Dresden. "I basically had the same reaction when Ms. Trismegistus said you were coming. Thanks for bringing Val again." Dresden gave an awkward smile. "I am happy to do whatever helps a former prisoner of Eloise's recover. It also helps assuage a small fraction of my guilt for your classmates whom I once unjustly locked away myself." Alcaya
Yeah.
knew Dresden
The
had
back
done some
rooms.
really horrible stuff in his past,
I'm sorry, the back cells.
including something to her fellow Mavericks, Jake and Anna, but had never asked about the details. She looked up at him questioningly, unsure if he'd say more. He looked over at
just
Evangeline
the
as
back
if
cells.
unsure whether he should go on. She didn't give much reaction, but that itself seemed to simply allow him to decide if he wanted to continue. Dresden then awkwardly did so. "If Mr. Tajan and Ms. Fens have not yet told you, then that is kind of them to not share about my unfortunate past. But given
Oh,
you
boy.
will likely come across me more often moving forward, you have the right to know. I once kept both of them imprisoned in a place often referred to as Back Cells Prison, where they were forced to fend for their lives
4 parts, and I honestly can barely remember any of them.
against other dangerous inmates, whom
Nothing against his videos, I just legit cannot remember. It's been years.
they had no place being locked up alongside." Alsaya's
Well,
stomach
just a while.
tightened, but she also had a hard time picturing this generally kind, if a bit awkward man trapping kids in a life-threatening prison like Ludum. "Why did you do that?" Alsaya asked. He sighed.
Uh-oh.
"It is a long story, but was all a means to a cruel end that itself was not an endeavor I should have been undertaking, though it has had the slight upside of prompting me onto a new path, seeking my own redemption while also building the foundation to help others seek theirs."
Oh boy, here we
Alcaya
go.
nodded uncertainly. "Well, that sounds bad, but if Jake and Anna are cool with you now, then it wouldn't really make sense for me to hold that against you. Especially if you keep letting me hang out with Val." He smiled slightly. Of course. Off that topic, Val has done a fair amount of running around today already. You may do as you see fit, but Val may be more interested in rest than activity. Alcaya was cool with that because she was a little beat from class.
He's pretty much like a big old dog.
Dresden and Evangeline went off for their meeting, and Alcaya walked around for a bit with Val before they both settled under the shade of a large tree, a short walk from the Maverick's quarters. The large creature paced around her a bit, then sat with her, and eventually lay its whole body down, with its head in her lap.
Aww.
Its head was heavy, but in a comforting way, like a living weighted blanket. She continued to pet it, and her whole body felt at ease. Even the tension of being reminded of her sister had nearly melted away. She simply sat with the creature for about half an hour before she noticed 3 of her fellow Mavericks coming towards her. Jake and Anna were following behind Kiko, who waved a bit shyly.
Hey, Alcaya. We don't want to interrupt your time with Val, but mind if we join you?
Something immediately felt off.
Oh,
Thankfully,
boy.
Val being there continued to comfort Alcaya, but Anna's expression was always pretty easy to read when she was concerned, and that look was currently plastered across her face.
Yeah, no, this is where the bombshell is going to drop, and it's going to be, "Ew, Dresden killed your sister."
Still, Alcaya nodded. They sat in front of her, not getting too close to Val to startle the creature, who noticed them but just kept laying down, enjoying Alcaya brushing its fur with her fingers. Kiko began.
Are you having a good time with Val?
Alcaya didn't bother answering that. She could feel it was just small talk leading to something else. She asked,
What's up? You guys look weird. Did something happen?
Kiko paused and looked at Jake. He said,
Nothing's wrong. We just wanted to check in with you. We all love that you're a Maverick now and that we'll all get to take Ludum down together, but...
That is good.
Kiko mentioned to Anna and me that she noticed you might have some sort of problem that you haven't talked to anyone about. You were awesome in the actual test during class today, but did seem a bit choked up before that and on some other occasions.
Val's eyes opened and the creature glanced up at Alcaya, likely in response to her heartbeat picking up. This was the second time in a day someone was trying to get her
Okay, he literally is a therapy dog, and I love
to
it.
share something she didn't feel ready to. Part of her wanted to take that as a sign to just finally say it. But she couldn't. She shook her head.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. I'm fine.
Anna's soft voice spoke up next.
Alcaya, we know you spent a lot of time at a school where you were always on guard, but we just want to make sure you know that you don't have to be here. And if there is
we're your
anything that you
friends.
might not have told us that Eloise could use against you or against us when we all go after her, then...
What are you saying? Do you think I'm the mole or something? I didn't even know about your guys' field trip. How could I have...
Jake cut in.
No, we don't think that at all.
Val's head darted up, noticing all the tension, and a quiet growl rumbled out of its throat. Alcaya growled as well.
Well, that's what it sounds like you're all saying. I want Ludum taken down more than anyone. I'd never be a mole for her.
Kiko said,
We definitely don't think you're the mole. Especially because I already know who the mole is.
Oh,
Jake and Anna both whipped their heads towards her. Alcaya could
just whip crack. Chill. It's like, you know? Why haven't you said anything? You're just making shit hard on us.
tell this was news to them too. Everyone just stared at Kiko. Alcaya expected someone to ask her who it was, but their collective stares ended up asking effectively enough for her to go on.
I didn't think it was my place to tell anyone, and I'd rather you guys not say anything either.
Alcaya asked in angered shock.
Why wouldn't we say anything? Why wouldn't you? Anyone
Yeah,
helping Ludum
come
needs to
on.
be dealt with as fast as possible. What if they leak more stuff to her about the plan?
Kiko shook her head.
That's not a problem. The mole was never actually trying to help Ludum, and she probably knows that by now too. See, I was having trouble sleeping one night a few days after our first Resilience combat class. It bugged me that I hadn't been able to finish, so I decided to go back down to the beach and do some late night sprints. After half an hour or so, I heard someone. I've got really good hearing as a part of my powers, so I went closer to it.
You are a rabbit, of course.
There's a part of the beach where rocks build up to a sort of rough wall next to the water, and standing a little ways along that, I could hear Professor Goggins talking to someone.
Jake jumped in.
Goggins? There's no way he's the mole. He tried to kill Ludum the last time we saw her.
Kiko nodded.
I did mention he kicked her in the face.
Yeah,
And he has no powers.
exactly. It turned out he was leaking info about the trip to one of Ludum's scouts. He knew Ludum was enough of a drama queen that she probably wouldn't be able to resist interrupting our trip and probably even bragging about the fact that she had a mole in the school to Ms. Trismegistus. Inside her own dimension, Goggins would never stand a chance against Ludum, no matter how tough he is, but he hoped that if he could get her alone outside her dimension, he might be able to take her down for good.
Okay, yeah, Goggins was planted into the school, but he's not working for Ludum. He is 10,000% working against her. Okay, that is a little better, but still not a good enough explanation.
He wants Ludum dead as much as anyone and wants to take over her school. He wants to make a school that's kind of like a halfway point between Tahe and the LAFF. One that pushes kids harder than here, but isn't going so far as to punish them with possible death. They were all just in
Actually, I could accept that. That doesn't sound too bad. Interesting concept and idea. Oh,
shock, but it was a much better answer than they'd expected at
him
the start
later,
of the
then.
story. At least it
he
meant there was
gets
no
back.
real mole, especially considering Goggins wouldn't even be around for the next few months to consider doing something like that again. Alsaya settled enough to ask, "If you knew, then why didn't you say anything?" Kiko shrugged. "I confronted Goggins about it that night, which is how I learned his whole plan." Anna interrupted.
You confronted Strone Goggins?
Kiko rocked her head back and forth. Well,
And live to tell the tale.
okay, confronted is a strong word, I guess. He saw me and I tried to act tough and demand to know what he was doing. Well, also being ready to book it out of there so he wouldn't kill me if he was an actual bad mole. Anyway, he asked me not to say anything until after the trip, then said I could do whatever I wanted with the information. I thought about saying something, but Ms. Trismegistus didn't seem worried about a mole, and I liked the idea of keeping a secret for Professor Goggins. I don't know if Ms. Trismegistus would get mad at him about it, but I honestly thought it wasn't a terrible idea. But I also didn't want you to think we were accusing you just now, Alsaya. We don't think you're hiding anything bad. We're really just trying to be good friends.
Concerned and
If you do
worried.
have something weighing on you that has something to do with siblings or maybe overseers or something like that, some of us might be able to relate and be able to help. Alsaya's heart started thudding again. How did Kiko seem to know some of the details already? Regardless of how
can read
Alsaya knew, it didn't
people.
matter. She could feel
She
the
can read
walls she
people.
built up in her mind finally caving in. These were just genuinely good people who wanted to help her. She just wasn't sure she was ready for the help they could give. She put her arm around Val's neck and the creature settled back into her lap. That gave her just enough comfort to finally start into it.
Alright. Time for the explanation. And, of course, the fallout. Sis, though, she reminds me so much. Hold on. Okay, the only one I'm finding is called a Thoth. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. It's Thoth. And I don't know if that was just the inspiration for Trismegistus, or if Trismegistus is somehow like the child of that guy, considering how, you have Ortis and Mythos world, where they're all gods and they can have kids that are not other gods.
This is 2/10 of a moment to put a full coloring book ad in, so I'm just going to quickly say that the Popcraft Studios Demons coloring book is available now and linked in the description. It's got 50 drawings that are mostly demons, but also some SCPs and other creepy stuff from the channel. I hope you
That's an
enjoyed if you
SCP?
get it. Now back into the
That's
story.
a demon?
Yep,
here it is. The fight.
Yeah, okay,
Oh boy.
Before I went to Ludum school, my older sister Delilah was killed.
I can feel the
She
emotion
was
in the voice.
all I had. Ludum told me she knew who killed Delilah, and that's why I went to her stupid, horrible school in the first place. I wanted to get strong enough to kill whoever killed Delilah, but before Ludum ever told me who the person was, I realized just how horrible her school was, and I just wanted out. When I got here, I was pretty sure Ms. Trismegistus or someone else would know what happened to Delilah, but I just got too scared to ask. If anyone here does know, what then? It's almost like knowing could be worse. What if I'm not ready to go after them myself? Or what if they're already dead and I don't even get to have my revenge at all?
Okay, if they were dead though, that would have been the best outcome. I mean, yes, you wouldn't have had your revenge, but you also would no longer have to worry about being ready to get revenge. Downside, that person is still alive, and your petting the best friend. Oh boy! Oh, I can feel the emotions already. Therapist, get your checkbooks out. You're eating well tonight. Checkbooks out. That's completely
might
wrong.
just end up with even more nothing. There was a pause as tears started rolling down Alsaya's cheek, but Jake very passionately said, "There's no way you'll be left with nothing. I can't pretend to know exactly what it's like to have a family member killed by someone else, but I did lose my parents and brother in a car accident. There does still sometimes feel like there's a hole inside me when I think about them, but the thing that fills it in is knowing I've got people here and back at the Sharp Gang that I know I can talk to about them when it's really hurting.
Found family.
But that only helps if you actually do let yourself open up to people who want to help. Plus, I bet most of our profs here aren't big on revenge, but if whoever killed your sister isn't someone you can take on your own, I bet all the Mavericks will be willing to back you up. Maybe we can even talk Dresden
boy.
into letting us bring Val along for the mission. Oakland sure owes Anna and me a few hundred favors. This isn't
Yeah.
something you have to deal with alone. Not with us around. Mavericks don't just get back up. We help each other get back up. And do whatever else needs doing." Tears kept rolling and dripped onto Val's neck, who nuzzled
Oh,
more
boy.
tightly into Alsaya's lap. She nodded. Okay, thanks. I guess it is.
I was saying them before, the idea I had that would make it a perfect ending for this whole arc, not the Trismegistus Ludum Academy, but Alsaya, Dresden, and all of that, how that could perfectly end. And for now, it's out the window. But I'm still going to keep that. It may be out the window, but it's inside me now.
Past time
That sounded weird.
I knew the truth.
My brain, I meant.
If anyone here does even know anyway. Anna leaned forward.
If you don't mind me asking, why would Ludum have known? And why might Miss Trismegistus? Was the person who killed Delilah some kind of famous overseer or something?
Alsaya hesitated but shook her head, looking down nervously at Val. No, I'm not sure, because I don't know tons of multiverse stuff, but I've been a bit nervous to say because I sort of noticed lots of people have problems with overseers. I know Ludum's
Surprisingly.
one, and there are probably lots of other bad ones, but my sister was one, and she was the best person in my whole world. All she ever wanted to do with her powers was help people. Then one day some person from another universe that she didn't even know called her out to their dimension, like apparently lots of other overseers were at the same time. And I guess it was some kind of trap.
Huh, I just realized is a whole backstory, her overseer sisters, is weirdly kind of similar to Fear in a way. He became an overseer, wanted to help people, then tragedy.
And she was killed for no reason. Alsaya noticed that there was no response. She slowly looked up and saw that all three of her friends' faces had gone pale. She immediately got a bit angry. What? Is it really so weird to think that there could be good overseers?
No, not that. We've met plenty of good overseers. No, it's the fact that we know exactly who did that, when he did that, and the fact that you're holding his pet.
Jake shook his head. No, we know there are. Some of the Sharp Gang are good overseers, but you said she got called away when Anna suddenly sprang up.
I think I need to go get Miss Trismegistus or Counselor Hay. We are not the right people to tell Alsaya this.
Yeah.
Alsaya leaned Val off her and jumped up. You know? Do you all know the person who killed the overseers? Kiko muttered quietly. You do too. Alsaya's eyes widened in fury and confusion. Jake quickly said, Kiko, don't. Look, Alsaya, yes, if your sister was one of the overseers killed during that incident, then we... But he trailed off as he noticed Alsaya wasn't looking at him. She was leering at Kiko. Kiko had stared a little bit too long at Val. Alsaya looked at the creature now standing on guard next to her, sensing her anger. Alsaya looked back at Kiko, who immediately looked away from Val towards the ground suspiciously. Still, that look at the creature had lingered a little too long.
And that was the
Alsaya's
reveal.
lip was trembling. If her sister's killer was someone she knew, then it made sense for it to be someone who'd already proven capable of doing horrible things. Alcaya stared at Jake.
He locked you guys up in a prison. Tell me Dresden didn't kill the overseers, too.
Nobody spoke. Alcaya sprang forward and grabbed Jake by his shirt, leering into his eyes.
Tell me one of your stupid teammates didn't kill my sister, Jake.
Jake just said,
Alcaya, I'm sorry.
My response would have been like, well, what do you think he's trying to redeem himself? He murdered millions, billions even. And that's why he's trying to redeem himself. Plus, the guy's dying anyway.
We didn't know that what Dresden did had hurt you so bad.
That was all the confirmation she needed. Alcaya shoved Jake as hard as she could, hurling him onto his back. Anna and Kiko tried to calm her down, but Alcaya tapped her foot on the ground 3 times and sprinted off in a blur. She was trying to scream in fury as she ran, but couldn't even hear herself through the rushing wind and the rage of her own thoughts. She knew Dresden was still at Evangeline's office, but also knew Ms. Trismegistus would probably try and stop her from killing him. So she ran first to Anna's room. She tackled right through the door of her tiny home, flipped up the bed, then ripped open her drawers, until she found Anna's multiverse-jumping wristwatch. She snatched it, darting back out the door, strapping it on, and pulling open the menu to a scroll of hundreds of other dimensions. She left the watch menu open at the ready. She was about to sprint off, when Val suddenly darted right in front of her, crouched and staring at her intently. She tried to sprint off to her left, but with surprising speed, Val sprang in front of her again.
Get out of my way, Val!
The creature snorted and shook its head, not looking angry, but still determined. She tried sprinting around it, but again, it sprang into her path and gently shoved her back with its head. She could hear Jake calling from the sky in the near distance. He was coming after her too. She didn't have time for this. She tapped her feet 4 times, and her body shook and buzzed like never before. Her vision got blurry and she felt like she was going to vomit. She was about to spring forward, but Val came closer, urging her to stop. Furious and wanting it out of her way, she threw a rapid fist and slammed the creature in its metal jaw.
Oh no!
It flipped over itself backwards and Alcaya sprinted off before it landed, moving faster than ever before. Her heart felt like it was both withering in on itself and pounding a hole in her ribs at the same time. She had known her sister's killer for weeks now. She'd talked to him like he was a human being. She'd become friends with the pet of the monster who took Delilah from her.
Okay, you cannot blame the pet. The pet had no part of any of it.
And worse still, Ms. Trismegistus had invited that monster into her school. Her classmates had been on a team with him well knowing he was a murderer. Alcaya's new life, which she thought was finally getting better, was crumbling around her. All she had left was her revenge. She could see the blurs of other students falling and leaping out of her path until she skidded to a stop, kicking up a trail of dirt. Evangeline was standing next to Dresden, just outside her office space. The sisters they'd been meeting with were gone, and the two seemed to be wrapping things up. Both Dresden and Evangeline looked at Alcaya in concern and surprise.
Uh-oh. Oh boy.
Ms. Trismegistus said, Alcaya, what's the matter? Where is Val?
I'm like, wait, please, not in the school, not in the school!
Alcaya ignored her.
Did you kill Delilah Lamani?
She was looking at Dresden, who seemed confused. I'm sorry, I don't... She yelled over him.
The overseers! My sister was an overseer! Did you kill my sister and the other overseers?
His expression fell into shock. Oh, I don't know that name, but if she was an overseer killed after being called to aid in Dimension S316, then yes, I likely did kill her.
Yep, there it is.
I am truly sorry.
You killed her and you didn't even know her name?
Alcaya's legs wanted to buckle beneath her, but she knew she still needed them for what came next.
Oh boy.
Evangeline started to speak, but Alcaya didn't wait around to listen. She exploded forward and tackled Dresden right off the ground. He was far heavier to carry than Ms. Trismegistus had been, but Alcaya pushed through, ignoring the weight as best
he is a very stony man.
she could, running with him over her shoulder as she fumbled with the watch and pressed a button on it. She'd wanted to go back to her dimension, but hit the wrong one in the scramble. She and Dresden vanished from Tahe and ended up in a random dimension atop a cliff ledge with a smoke-billowing, lava-drooling volcano in the background.
Ooh, shit.
The air stank of thick smog, but Alcya was quaking in fury too
I wonder whether they are now.
much to notice. She stopped as quickly as she could, making Dresden fly off her shoulder and crash to the rocky ground. He slowly started to get up, but Alcya didn't give him the time. She sprinted right past him and hammered her knuckles into his stony skull as she did. She felt like she'd punched a stone, but her gloves and blinding anger protected her enough. She immediately darted
the
back past him
adrenaline.
again, punching him in the back of the head and making him slam face first into the ground once more. She waited for him to start getting up again. She thought he'd protest or try to stop her, but he did no such thing. When he was nearly back on his feet, she ran forward again and punched him as hard as she could in the stomach. He flew back a few feet, then stumbled, staying upright. She then noticed that, well, he did look concerned. He didn't seem to have been injured by her blows. She stepped forward and started swiping at him.
I mean, honestly, I have no idea how you would even harm the guy. I mean, no, legit, I have no idea. I don't even have a theory.
His head back and forth, alternating fists, punching harder and harder and harder, feeling her knuckles tear beneath her gloves but not caring. Chunks of his stony flesh started flying off his face, but they'd just float in the air near him, slowly moving back into place. She kept hitting and hitting at
useful.
rapid speeds until half his face was floating nearby, revealing a pink energy structure at his core where a skeleton should be. She stopped punching and just stared for a moment, trying to figure out what to do. He finally muttered, "Well, you have every reason to want to harm me. It will unfortunately be a difficult thing to achieve, given the nature of my physiology.
Yeah,
Very sorry." She struck him again.
that's why he's not fighting back. Like, one, you can't hurt him. Two, he doesn't want to hurt you.
Don't say you're sorry. There's no amount of sorry that can make up for what you did.
She
That's
kept
true.
hitting him over and over in the head, stomach, groin, arms, trying harder and harder to hurt him, but not showing any progress at drawing blood from a stone. Eventually, she kicked him as hard as she could in the chest, and he dropped back to the ground once more.
How do I kill you? I just want to kill you.
She didn't actually expect him to tell her, but he calmly said, "If that is what you wish, I do have a specialized knife back at the RAS Foundation that could achieve that result for you." She ran over it
Is he just gonna hand over the very blade that can kill him?
as he was getting up and knocked him back down, pinning his chest down with her knee. His face had already fully reformed as she hammered his skull again, to little effect.
Why don't you care if I kill you?
"I've known for some time now that someone may come seeking revenge for what I've done. I've accepted that it would be justified and have simply been living my life since my foul act, trying to do all the good I could to make up for my past actions, prior
And
to
it
the
would
day
never be
someone
enough.
stripped me of my life seeking vengeance. While dying is not desirable, I hold no ill will against you or anyone else for seeking my demise."
Alcya had waited so long for this moment,
And yet, there was absolutely nothing satisfying about it.
I don't understand. Why did you do it? Why Delilah? If other overseers were so bad, then whatever, but why her? She never hurt anyone.
I
find
was
out.
angry and short-sighted and aimed my fury at a broad target. I have no
there it is.
excuse that justifies what I've done, but thousands of years ago, the overseer of my world brought my entire universe to the brink of collapse, put me in the physical condition I now appear, and forced her abilities upon me, leaving me the overseer of a lifeless universe. I was the
Damn. Okay, so that's something. So Overseer came back, wiped out everyone but you, turned you into whatever the hell you are, or gave you the powers, and then I guess just dipped, making you the last living entity of that world. Shit.
sole being who survived. My entire world had literally been taken from me. I eventually began exploring other realms of the multiverse and found most overseers to be about as deplorable or irresponsible as the one who took my world away. Beings who were given power with the intent to help their worlds, and instead far too often used them to turn their worlds and the people in them into their playthings, not caring about how their actions affected the well-being of the innocent.
Surprisingly, a lot.
I ignored the fact that there surely were also good, kind-hearted overseers, and deemed they all needed to be eradicated. I began making enchanted, binding agreements called Overseer's Bonds with every overseer I could. I'd built a prison in my dimension in which I could lock away the most
back
dangerous
cells.
and troublesome beings and monsters from other overseers' realms, but in exchange, they'd owe me a favor with an energetic lock on it that meant the debt must be repaid when I requested it. When I had enough of these, I requested that all 16,444 overseers I'd made bonds with
damn.
come to my universe and assist with a fictitious problem in my prison. Then I detonated the entire planet with them inside. Alcya grabbed Dresden's crusted hair, lifted his head, and slammed it down into the rock.
You didn't have a deal with Delilah. She never met you or anyone outside our universe.
He would have had a deal with the Overseer previous to her. Oh no! Delilah was set up! And I don't even mean by Dresden, I mean by the previous Overseer. They knew all about this and was like, I'm gonna hand this power over, and then bing bada boom, I get to live! Oh! New target!
He gave a slight nod. That is very likely true, but part of my short-sightedness was the fact that the debt of an overseer's bond is passed on when that overseer passes on their abilities to another.
Yep, there
I
it
may
is.
have had a bond with the overseer who preceded your sister, or the one before them, or many overseers back. Your sister didn't need to have done anything wrong for me to have killed her, and while I no longer feel as such, at
He was just the owner of the deal.
time I thought killing a few decent or good overseers was justified to wipe the majority of them from the multiverse. Killing a universe's overseer means that realm can never have another, so killing a good overseer existing in the present at least meant no ill-hearted ones could take their position and harm their world with those abilities in the future. Well, it will never come close to making up for what I've taken from you. I am truly and deeply sorry for taking your sister away. Alcya had never imagined the person who killed Delilah being sorry for it, but it was somehow making this the worst possible outcome. She struck him across the face a
definitely.
few more times, helplessly trying to hurt him, before she fell back to the ground, shaking and panting and clutching her head.
I hate you. I just want to hate you and for killing you to take the pain away.
Dresden sat, leaning over his knees next to her as she cried and shook. I understand, and if there is anything I can do to help, well, I suppose you want no
boy.
sort of help from me. I'm sorry, and I'm sorry that Eloise seems to have put you in a position to find out about me the way you did.
Well, Alcya
Oh, she most likely did. That clever ass.
Was still quaking in
Damn, I
fury
hate him.
and sadness, she sat up.
What do you mean?
Dresden's eyes scanned the ground, unable to make eye contact with her. Well, I don't mean to deflect your very justified hatred of me, but I imagine the reason Eloise gave the condition that you be made a maverick is because she was well aware Mr. Tajan and Ms. Fens were on a team that I too am now a part of. The Sharp Gang held me as a prisoner for a time before they helped me see the error of my ways and eventually accepted me as a member of their team, trying to do good with the life I had left. Ludum likely hoped that you would learn of Jake and Anna's connection to me, and that would possibly make you furious enough to harm them, or at least find and kill me. She has desired my death ever since I killed the Overseers. They were the primary audience for the deadly combat arenas she
Oh,
ran prior
that's
to
right.
creating her academy, so she was quite displeased about what I'd done for very different reasons than you are now.
I wouldn't be dumb enough to hurt Jake and Anna over you.
Alcya yelled, but as she said that, she thought about how she had hurled Jake to the ground just for telling her the truth. Worse still, she punched Val in the face, and not even stuck around to see if the creature was hurt. It quickly sunk in that if Alcaya had learned the
Yep.
truth sooner after getting to Tahe,
That was the aftermath of the rage.
before she'd become closer friends with the Mavericks, she may very well have done something more than just shove Jake.
Yeah, probably
She
killed
was
him.
using me. I thought I got away from her, but she would have just killed me for attacking her if she didn't want me at Tahe to kill you.
Dresden sighed and nodded slightly. She couldn't have known for certain that would be the result, but Eloise's core drive is essentially to incite chaos in people's lives. Even if the result had not been you killing me, she'd be quite satisfied knowing the amount of pain this event would cause.
Oh, definitely.
Alcaya shook, then screamed furiously and clambered to her feet.
Fine, then I'll kill Ludum and at least pretend that's revenge for you killing Delilah. There's no way she'll ever be sorry about what she did, so at least killing her will make me feel better.
There was a pause, then Dresden carefully said,
Oh,
I am in no position to give you any advice, but part of Eloise's intent likely is that you will despise her. Someone like her thrives on the drama resulting from her actions.
Oh,
While
yeah,
hating
that's
her
true.
is justified, if you go to her and show your fury with all she's done, you'll very likely be giving her exactly what she wants. The woman whose actions started me down my path to
Oh.
revenge on all overseers is the
You.
exact same way. She would be very pleased to know if I was still harboring resentment towards her.
So what? I just leave Ludum alone, let her keep killing students and getting away with being a monster?
oh
Dresden
God, no,
shook
no,
his
kill
head.
him.
No, but when the time comes that you do go after her, if you end up in direct conflict with her, whether you can bring yourself to truly feel this way or not, I'd recommend acting as though you are completely indifferent to what she has done. Still work to restrain, or even kill her if you must, but don't give her the satisfaction
Yeah.
of knowing you despise her. The best way to get revenge on someone as chaos-hungry as Ludum is to act as though you couldn't care less about her at all.
Boom.
Act as
Love
though
it.
defeating her is nothing more than a task on a checklist. Alcaya had no interest in taking advice from Dresden, but
It's good
she
advice, though.
immediately knew he was right. Eloise wanted Alcaya's hatred, and Alcaya couldn't let her see how much of it there was. Alcaya just stood and stared at Dresden for a moment. It was still hard to process that this was the man who'd taken Delilah away. They both let a pause linger for a while before Dresden said, "The offer still stands for me to get that knife if you still desire your very justified revenge upon me."
Yeah.
Hearing that just broke Alcaya's heart even more.
If you still wish to kill me, here's the knife. If I will not stop you from stabbing me in the chest.
She didn't think there was any way she could actually
He's not
get what she
fighting
wanted
back.
from Dresden. At least
I at least call that part 10,000% right.
not by hurting him. She said,
You're probably right about me needing to act like I don't care about Ludum, but if she wanted me to kill you, then the only thing that could make that revenge even better is if you and me kill her together. I don't know if I'll ever actually stop hating you for what you did, but acting like I'm friends with you, someone she already hates, and acting like I don't care about Ludum will make her even more furious.
Oh, yeah, there you
Dresden
go. Good
finally
thinking.
built the courage to look up at Alcaya. "You do not intend to take my life, then?" Alcaya's body
for
finally
now.
started to slow down.
Not for now.
I don't think it would help. And knowing that you're trying to help other people to stop doing horrible stuff like what you did, I don't think Delilah would be proud of me if I killed you anyway.
Dresden nodded. "That is
Very well.
very noble of you. And
And very
whatever
mature.
capacity you would like my help in handling Eloise, or in any other matter, I will be at your call."
Stop making it harder to hate you. Now, let's go back. I've got to apologize to Jake and Val.
Alcaya and Dresden used the watch to transport back into the Nexus Pyramid at Tahe. When the walls opened, they were greeted with the compassionate arms of Evangeline and the sympathetic faces of the rest of the Mavericks. Val was there too, and appeared to be holding no grudge against Alcaya for her actions,
Aw.
nor did anyone else. Earlier, Alcaya thought she'd harbor a grudge forever towards the teachers and students for giving Dresden a second chance that she wasn't sure he deserved, but it quickly faded into the background as they all apologized to her and showed her how much they cared about her healing from the pain she'd harbored for so long.
That's right.
Dresden even agreed to leave Val at Tahe for as long as Alcaya wanted, so that night she ended up sleeping on the floor of her room with the creature's head lying down on her stomach. While Alcaya hadn't gotten the
That's
revenge
cute.
she'd wanted, despite the literal weight on her stomach, she felt as though a proverbial weight had still been lifted off her chest. At least she
In a
knew
way,
what had happened to
it
Delilah
has.
now, and her friends knew about her pain. That may not have taken it away, but it did make it feel a bit easier to bear, as if she were no longer bearing it alone. She not
Hey, hold on. Alcaya, one thing I would suggest is that, since you pretty much don't want to kill Dresden now, and you do still want to kill Eloise Ludum, when you get the chance, like after all this is over, I would get maybe a small crew, you know, your friends, to go back to your home world and try to find the person that became an overseer before your sister. And, you know, ask them a question if they knew about the deal that was made with the overseer. If they say no, then you ask who they got the powers from and keep going back. Like, until you find the man and who did know about it, said nothing. And then, okay, you probably shouldn't kill him, but take him to the RAS Foundation. Make him see what he's... No. Well, bring him to the very man he made the deal with. And have him learn about what happened. How that man's actions, not Dresden, the previous overseer, how his actions led to the death of a young woman. Boom.
nodded off to sleep, ready to
Maybe break a leg.
train as hard as she could over the next months to be ready to take down someone who she felt comforted in knowing would never seek redemption the way Dresden had. That would make it much more satisfying to defeat Eloise Ludum.
It didn't play out like I thought it would, but it played out pretty damn close. Love it.
Whew, we have been building up to that scene for a while, since Chapter
Yeah.
1 of the Trismegistus Academy. And there is a little bit more still to be revealed around Delilah's death, but in the next episode we're going to be jumping back over to the LAFF for an episode narrated by Waru. Anyway, besides that, that's all for today, except of course for ending this video on some kind of positive or inspiring note. And the thought I want to leave people with today is a quote from a man who goes by Adi Ashanti, who suggests that you ask
interesting name.
yourself the question, what am I when I don't refer to a thought? It essentially helps you
Ooh.
create a gap in the mind's
Okay.
constant stream of thinking and forces you to kind of feel who you are and what you are, not tied to any
Ooh.
string of words, which essentially are just sounds and symbols that we've made up to give our best approximation of what
That's a
reality
good
is
one.
and who we are.
That
so
is
just
a
take
good
a moment
one.
and ask yourself, what am I when I don't refer to a thought? I hope that's inspiring or helpful.
Oh, I
I
like
love you
that
all,
one.
and I'll see you all in the next episode on Monday for a light-hearted banter episode community redraw.
Hey, that's gonna be nice. Whoops. Well, okay, didn't mean to do that. Anyway, folks, that's gonna be the end of today's video, and I hope you all enjoyed. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Link to the original will be in the description below, and I'll see all of y'all next time when we flick back on. Till then, this is Fox, signing out. Peace.